And headlines of this hour on VTV News. Prime Minister begins official visit to the UAE. And localities brace for Typhoon TRAMI'S impact.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi, and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huyen Trân with the top stories. Prime Minister Pham Minh, his spouse, and a high-ranking Vietnamese delegation arrived in Abu Dhabi on Sunday local time, starting their official visit to the United Arab Emirates, UAE, at the invitation of President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan.
The visit, the first by a Vietnamese prime minister in 15 years, is taking place amid flourishing bilateral relations across all sectors. Political trust and mutual understanding have steadily strengthened. The UAE stands as Vietnam's primary export market in the Middle East and Africa, with two-way trade reaching $4.96 billion USD in the first 9 months of this year, surpassing the $4.7 billion USD recorded for the entire year of 2023. Both nations have set an ambitious goal of achieving $10 billion USD in bilateral trade in the near future. During a meeting with UAE Minister of State for Foreign Trade and Minister in charge of Talent Attraction and Retention, Thani bin Ahmed Al Zayudi, Prime Minister Pham expressed delight at the positive development of bilateral relations, noting many substantial recent achievements. The UAE minister responded by describing the Vietnamese Prime Minister's visit as a significant milestone in bilateral relations. He also thanked the Vietnamese government and Prime Minister for their strong direction in promoting cooperation with the UAE. The minister emphasized that the UAE values its relationship with Vietnam, appreciates Vietnam's socio-economic development achievements, and recognizes its increasingly prominent position in the region and the world. He expressed confidence that Prime Minister Pham Minh's visit would be successful and yield important results.
Later, Prime Minister Pham Minh met with officials and staff of the Vietnamese embassy and representatives of the Vietnamese community in the UAE. He affirmed that the party and state are dedicated to supporting the overseas Vietnamese community in stabilizing and integrating into their host societies, enhancing their roles, promoting national identity, and encouraging contributions to their homeland. The Prime Minister urged the embassy to excel in consular work, resolve legal issues, streamline procedures, and strengthen community connections. He also emphasized the importance of establishing the Association of Vietnamese in the UAE and working towards creating a Vietnam Cultural Center. He expressed hope that the overseas Vietnamese would foster solidarity and national sentiment while preserving their identity and language. In an era of global citizenship, he noted that the Vietnamese community can thrive anywhere, as long as their hearts and minds remain focused on their homeland. Typhoon Trami made landfall in Vietnam on Sunday, boasting wind speeds of 88 kilometers per hour, bringing down trees and triggering waves. Localities in Vietnam have deployed measures to cope with the storm's torrential rains and flooding.
In Quang Binh province, heavy rain caused floodwaters to rise rapidly, inundating many inter-district and inter-commune roads and paralyzing traffic. To ensure resident safety, local authorities evacuated 73 households, totaling 201 people, to safer areas to avoid the risk of isolation and the impact of severe flooding.
In Cam Lo District, Quang Tri Province, flooding affected 5 hamlets with more than 600 households. District authorities are actively implementing flood prevention measures. Due to heavy rainfall, thousands of households across various localities in Quang Tri are experiencing flooding, with some areas submerged under 1 to 2 meters water. Many roads have been cut off.
In Thừa Thiên Huế, nearly 1,000 households with almost 2,000 people were evacuated to avoid Typhoon TRAMI'S impact. Meanwhile, a 300-meter-long stretch of road along Thuận An and Phú Thuận beaches was completely damaged by strong waves. Many houses near the beach were flooded by seawater, forcing residents to evacuate quickly for safety. Provincial leaders have inspected severely eroded coastal areas to develop solutions for restoration and to ensure the safety of residents.
In Quảng Nam province, local authorities had to relocate 7 villages, comprising more than 150 households, to safer areas. Multiple landslides occurred in the mountainous areas of the province. In Bắc Trà My district, a preliminary survey identified 400 locations at risk of landslides, with 170 considered highly dangerous. The province is focusing on stabilizing the lives of those who have been relocated, as well as the tens of thousands of residents affected by Typhoon Trami.
In Da Nang City, even though the rainfall has gradually increased, the risk of landslides remains a potential hazard, threatening safety on highways. Currently, there are 4 high-risk landslide points along the Da Nang-Quảng Ngãi Expressway. Meanwhile, the Cam Lộ La Sơn route has 7 locations at risk.
Welcome back to VTV News. Now, during the annual International Law Week at the 79th session of the UN General Assembly, Vietnam and Vanuatu, in collaboration with the International Development Law Organization, held a workshop titled Promoting Climate Justice Through Procedures, seeking advice from international judicial bodies. Ambassador Đặng Hoàng Giang, Vietnam's permanent representative to the UN, stressed that climate change is a pressing global challenge, urging countries to collaborate on action through established climate processes and legal frameworks. Associate Professor Dr. Nguyễn Lan Anh, director of the EC Institute, called on nations and organizations to share their insights at the upcoming International Court of Justice hearing to help the court consider the various aspects of international law related to climate change. Foreign direct investment, or FDI, registered in Vietnam reached $25 billion in the first 9 months of this year, significantly contributing to economic growth. However, an additional $15 billion is needed to meet the $40 billion target for the year. Localities now focus on breakthrough measures, prioritizing green investment flows for sustainable development.
This factory underwent recent upgrades to enhance sustainability in both its production processes and technology. Strict greening standards are mandated throughout the entire industrial zone.
We aim to reduce CO2 emissions to zero by 2030. The entire solar power system currently meets about 40% of the plant's total electricity consumption.
Each locality is choosing its own approach to leverage its comparative advantages in attracting foreign investment. Bac Ninh is focusing on attracting high-quality investment flows and promoting sustainability. Meanwhile, Haiphong is creating new competitive advantages through institutional reforms and preparing clean land for top-tier businesses.
We will continue to attract investors in line with the province's direction, focusing on sectors such as semiconductors, high technology, pharmaceuticals, and aviation. We will prioritize large-scale investors.
The city has submitted a proposal to the government to establish a coastal economic zone in the southern part. This will expand the development potential of Haiphong City.
Currently, investment policies and human resources are the most crucial factors in attracting investors.
the value addition that is coming out of the FDI-driven manufacturing sector is not really translated into adding value to the domestic manufacturing sector. We need to bridge that link.
Vietnam has established a large-scale semiconductor and AI ecosystem in the region. With efforts to improve institutional frameworks and develop human resources, localities will have more opportunities to attract substantial investment, realizing the aspiration to position Vietnam as a high-tech manufacturing hub in Asia.
The agricultural sector's exports could reach 60 to 61 billion US dollars this year, according to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. In the first 9 months, total export reached nearly 46.3 billion US dollars, a 21% increase from the same period last year, with a trade surplus of 13.9 billion US dollars. To meet this year's targets, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development emphasized the need to continue supporting production recovery, promoting the successful models from provinces unaffected by Storm Yagi, and combating smuggling, particularly of lobster breeds, and safeguard and enhance growth. Tam Dao Town features ancient architecture built by the French in the late 19th century, combined with modern-style buildings. And throughout its 120-year history of establishment and growth, Tam Dao had the privilege of hosting President Ho Chi Minh on 3 occasions. Today, Tam Dao stands out as an appealing destination for tourists.
On Saturday, Vĩnh Phúc Province and Tam Dao District organized a program to celebrate 120 years of Tam Dao's development. Perched at an altitude of over 900 meters above sea level, the town boasts a cool and pleasant climate throughout the year.
I see that this place is becoming increasingly innovative and developed.
Thanks to its natural landscape, Tam Dao Town is well positioned to develop its tourism economy. Both Tam Dao District and town are committed to becoming a high-end tourist and resort destination for the Red River Delta.
Tam Dao has set its sights on 2030 with plans to invest in infrastructure, cultural institutions, and distinctive tourism products.
The 120th anniversary of Tam Dao's establishment and growth will inspire its citizens to work together, further enhancing the town and making it deserving of its status as Vietnam's 7th national tourist area and one of the world's top destinations.
Now, before we say goodbye, let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.